Okay, yeah. So first, I just want to start with this story. I remember this story. I think Sheila, hopefully you'll remember it, but I just thought it was such a phenomenal story because what we're looking at, one thing that Hamas did do is bring the Jewish people a lot closer. That's for sure. Like where there's a much greater unity among all of us, and we're a lot more what's the word, tolerant, and in fact we're the opposite of, it's not just tolerant, it's like we also want to really like give to all the other, to all the Jews around us. Like everybody really wants to feel like it's a family. I think because we are feeling like a family. It doesn't look like anyone else likes us. So it's not like, we're welcomed anywhere else. So Baruch Hashem, we have each other. So it's just a very beautiful story. There's something like this organization in Toronto. So like how there is Hatzalah, there's another organization called Chaverim. And Chaverim means friends. And what is that about? It's about like helping people if they're stranded in their cars. So let's say you've got a car problem, you locked your keys in your car. People have done all these fun things, right? We've all done this stuff, right? Or you need a boost, or you need this, or you need that. So there's this group called Chaverim. And in Israel, this group is called Yedidim. Okay, so the same name really, because a Yedid is also a very good friend. So here's the story. It's such a beautiful story. So there was a man, we're just giving him a name that isn't his because he wants to remain private. Okay, so we're going to call him Mendel. Okay, so Mendel is part of this incredible organization, that helps people if you see anyone stranded in their car. So he's on the highway in Israel, and he's always has his eyes peeled, to see if anybody's stranded. So he first of all, hi to everybody. So I'm just telling the story. We're just starting it, so you're okay. So it's about this guy who volunteers to help people. There's an organization like that here in Toronto called Chaverim. You call them, like I have their number in my car. In case you break down, like you call them, because CAA sometimes takes a long time, and they come for free. It's just people who volunteer to help people who've had a problem with their car. So this guy Mendel is in Israel, and they have a similar organization, and he's driving on the highway, and he sees a car pulled over on the side, and he sees like these people are stranded. So he stops his car and he goes, "Hi, can I help you?" And they're like, "Shalom, yeah, you can help us. We're in trouble. We didn't put enough gas in our car, and now we broke down." So he says, "You know what? You have nothing to worry about. I volunteer for this organization. I'm so happy to be of service. And I'm going to go with a canister I have in my car, and I'll fill up gas and I'll bring it back." So they're like, "What? Like, who are you?" He goes, "No, I really do this. This is what we do for a chesed. This is who we are. We do this for kindness." So he goes to the gas station and he brings back the gas and he fills up these people's car. And he was a religious man and they were totally secular. In fact, they were so secular that, there was almost like a civil war right now in Israel before this whole thing broke out. Like this was God's hand on steroids. Okay, the Jewish people, really, it's not funny. Like it was so bad that there were people who were actually thinking of like making it their own army, like really splitting the country in half. Like this was really at a bad point. How bad was it? This person had a bumper sticker in Hebrew that said, "Run over a Haredi." That's how bad it was.
Good God.
Like they were having bumper stickers sold like that. "Run over a Haredi." Could you imagine such a crazy thing? So now this guy who's helping him is totally Haredi, brings him the gas, and this couple say, "Please, you're being so good to us. Can we at least pay you for the gas?" And he says, "No, I'm not selling my mitzvah. This is my mitzvah. This is what I, do, and I don't want any payment." They couldn't believe it. Like they just couldn't believe this person. And the man turns to me and goes, "I got to be honest with you. I thought Haredis are only takers, but I see that you like such a giver." He goes, "Watch what I'm going to do." And he brings him over to the car and he rips off the bumper sticker that he had. Okay. So it's like a very beautiful thing. And then he says to him, "You know what? They actually, they were like really intrigued with each other. So he said, 'You know what? Let's give each other our, what's it called, our phone numbers, and we can be in touch. Beautiful idea. No, beautiful. So they call each other back and forth. And now this guy, Mendel, wants to invite his family for Shabbos. Like they start to become friends. So we want to invite them for Shabbos. So what happens? They keep like trying. This day never works. That day never works. And then this couple says to him, I don't know, Shabbos, like we're a little bit worried. Like Shabbos is so boring. Like we can't be on the phone. We can't be this. He goes, you have to come. You'll see that it feels amazing to take a day off, from the computers and all these kind of things. Finally, they settle on the Shabbos of Simchas Torah. Okay, the Shabbos of Simchas Torah. So everybody's like so happy, yay, great. And then Mendel checks his calendar and he forgot that his parents invited him for Shabbos, and they live in Sderot. So he calls up the parents and he says to them, you know what, I feel so bad. We invited guests and then I forgot about it. I'm supposed to go to you. So you come to me. Okay, that was October 7th. His parents, who lived in Sderot, lived right next to the police station that was bombed and destroyed. And this couple was from Kibbutz Be'eri, where everybody was killed except them, because they were at this person's house for Shabbos. So this one act of going to, save this person with the car and giving them gas in the car, and then being kind, and both parties like being friends, and then inviting them for Shabbos. And because they invited them for Shabbos, they couldn't go to their parents. So they asked the parents to come to them. The parents and this family were saved. It's an incredible story. Isn't that a beautiful story?
Beautiful,
True
beautiful
story. True story. Just important for us to know. So now let's just talk about prayer for a little bit. I'm very into the prayer business now, because that's the business we have to be in. Because if you take a look at what's going on out there, and people are asking themselves, like, what can I do to help Israel? And what I get worried about is the longer that this starts to take, the more you get used to it. Just like with COVID, right? Like when COVID first started, it was like, oh my gosh. And then after a while, okay, you're on Zoom. Okay, you don't go out. Okay, you know what I mean? You adjust, you adapt. And the problem is, if we start adapting and forgetting that we also have to fight through this, and that what the soldiers are asking from us, like I've never seen a war like this where things came out online asking people to pray. Have you ever remember this? I don't remember this. Does anyone remember this? Where you would have all these requests. I have to be real. I don't. Does anyone remember? Right. So why are they doing it this time? Why is, Manishtana, why is this time different than all other times? Marie, did you want to say something? Like unmute? Anybody want to answer why this time is different than all the other times?
Yeah. I have heard that, prior to October the 7th, there were all these demonstrations in Israel. Also, this one against that one, against 100%. The government. Don't do this, don't do that. We were in complete disarray.
Mm-hmm.
And that Hashem said, I'm going to bring everybody together. Unfortunately,
this way,
and it did unite the country.
It did. And united us. I think the Jewish people outside of the country too, and it united us to them. Do you know what I mean? So it became a whole bigger thing. I think this time is different because I think this is it's a very hard war. Like it's a very hard war because they're going in. This is very, very hard to fight on foot. You know what I mean? Like really, if they would have like bombed them from the air and just knocked everything out, it'd be a lot easier. But like this, everything is so booby trapped. You know what I mean? And it's very scary, and it's longer than we're used to. We're all used to like Israel wins, and it's like 2 weeks later, 6 days.
It's the hostages.
Yeah, and the hostages. Mm-hmm. You just said it so well. So even they I think they're afraid to, you know what I mean? Really And it's hard, and it's a very hard thing. And look at world's opinion, and there's so many Palestinians and so many Arabs all over the world in every single country, right? Like I was on that march in Washington. I went to the march in Washington. I was so happy I did it. And like there was, I mean, I think it was shy of 300,000. I don't even know if there was 300,000. And then a simple march in England with the Palestinians is 300,000. Do you know what I mean? Without any effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a harder story. So, and like, it was funny. Did anyone listen to Netanyahu yesterday or hear him? He was on the news and he kept saying, like, you know, we can't lose. Like, you know, like this is a real, right? It's a big one. So if it's a big one, then we have to also be working very hard, right? So we have to work very hard to be praying, right? And doing acts of kindness and learning Torah, giving tons of charity, whatever you can do, like whatever anyone can afford to really support Israel. But to have in mind, like everyone here have the name of a soldier and a name of a hostage that they're praying for?
No, not a hostage.
No? Okay, so if you don't have a hostage, I'm gonna send later. There's like an email where you email and they send you the name of a hostage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. You know what I mean? It's just a good thing to have on our hearts.
Mhm.
Yeah, Hazel, were you
Can I
gonna say
tell you
something?
something?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. First of all, Gail, I had the name of a hostage when I went to the Chalabek, and I spoke to her every day. I prayed for her every single day. I got to know her as a member of my family. She was the first one to be murdered. Yehudit Weiss was my hostage. I felt as if I had lost a member of my family. I was absolutely heartbroken.
Oh,
So
I'm
I've got two soldiers whom I pray for, but I do need another hostage.
Okay, so I'll give you the place that gives you. This is what I'm very afraid of. And so, okay, Hashem has
Israeli
so much-
Parliament, sorry,
What?
Israeli Parliament, they were talking about bringing in the death sentence for terrorists.
Yes, and I think they should. I think it's a great idea.
No,
Why?
all the relatives of the hostages have said, no, don't do it yet. because
No,
they
not
may
yet.
kill
Yeah.
our people and we
Yes.
won't get them back. Let's
Yeah.
get them back and then you can talk about it.
Yes.
God forbid, when it was the Holocaust, they never brought in Nuremberg before.
Yes.
They had complete control.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Allies
You mean like right now it
said,
wouldn't be a
don't
good
do
idea.
it yet, keep quiet.
Yes. Okay. We'll see. May God watch over all of us. So very interesting when it comes to prayer. If you look around, if you ask yourself, like, where is the most special place for Jewish people to pray? Where is the most special place for Jewish people to pray?
At the wall.
At the wall. Now that's a very interesting concept. Like if you stop and you think about it, what does a wall usually represent to people?
The temple.
Yes, the temple, but not this wall. I'm saying generally speaking, like, you know, in the States right now,
Something upright and standing.
yes, upright and standing. But let's say the border in the United States right now, the southern border is completely open and all these crazy people are coming in, millions upon millions and upon millions of unvetted immigrants. So you hear people chanting, build the wall, build the wall. What does that wall they want to build do? What does that do?
Well, they want separation.
Yeah, separation. What else? Phyllis, did you want to say something?
I was going to say separation.
Yeah. Okay, good. So it keeps something out. Usually when you talk about a wall, you're disconnected.
Connection.
You're on one side of the wall and someone else is on the other side. It's disconnection. There's something in like a barrier. That's a good word for it. A barrier, a border. There's something there that stops something from getting in and out. So when you think about that, why of all places would we pray in front of a wall? Like, it's such an interesting idea. A wall is something that seems to be separating me from you, the Almighty, right? So what's the Torah tell us? That the Jewish people are a very unique people. That if you put a wall up in front of us, we're going to work harder to connect. We're going to work harder to be better. And that's what you saw right now. You have to appreciate that this could have turned into an even bigger disaster, right? The people who were all protesting, pro-BB, no BB, no religion, yes religion, blah, 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 blah. This war could break out, and then what could have happened? Another war inside the war. I'm being honest. Could have been another war. Everybody could have just stopped and pointed fingers and blamed each other. But the Jewish people are very unique. You put a wall, then we're going to connect only stronger. We're going to work harder to get connected. We're going to work harder to reach each other. And that's like, it's like, but you know, there's like a video going around. I'm sure people have seen it. Did someone mention it? Like where this person is like, she looks very angry and very distraught. And she goes, do you know what you did, Hamas? Did anybody see this? She goes, do you know what you did, Hamas? And you're thinking like you're going to have to see the most pictures. And it's
brought us together.
All the soldiers dancing and everybody's together. And so much unity. And she, at the end, she goes, you united us. And I'm like, it was such an encouraging picture. So this is what it is. Because when the wall comes up, now you have to make your decisions. That's what it is. So they give a parable. So let's say two people are going, a couple, they're having a lot of problems in their marriage and they decide, okay, they're finally going to the therapist. All right. So they get to the therapist and the therapist says, okay, here, sit down. And they already start fighting over who gets what chair and where they should be sitting. And now the fight's getting really bad. And now the wife's yelling at the husband and the husband's yelling at the wife. I didn't want to come to this therapist and you made me do it. And then the wife's like, well, you're an idiot and you need therapy. And okay. So finally the therapist can't take it anymore. He bangs on the table and he says, either you're in or you're out. Right? Either you're in the therapy and you're going to listen to me and we're going to get this, you know, worked through, or get out. And that's exactly what Hashem, this is what God kind of orchestrated with this story. That's what he orchestrated. There was a wall that the Jewish people were building between each other. And God said, oh, really? Now I'm going to give you a real wall. Okay. I'm going to put you right up against the wall. And now it's either you're in or you're out. And now like every Jew kind of turned to the other Jew and went, oh, like we're in this together. And now you see, like anybody watching the videos that are going around, these beautiful videos, right? Where all the, like, you know, people religious, not religious, everybody dancing together, everybody working together, everybody sending money and vests and this and that and cooking for each other. And like people who were not kosher at all, treif restaurants in Tel Aviv, right? That were making big bucks, koshered the whole restaurant. Can you believe it? To make it kosher so that every soldier should be able to eat from it. Like it's really such unbelievable ideas. So that's why sometimes in our lives, God puts up a wall, like we hit the wall. And now he's saying, hi, you didn't even notice me before, but now that I put the wall up, now you need help. Now that you need help, you turn to the Almighty. Okay, so the expression, there is not, this is interesting what I'm about to tell you. There's an expression, there is no atheist in a foxhole. What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? There's no atheist in a foxhole.
Because everybody's praying to get out.
Yes. Okay. So the Torah says, even a non-Jew, when they're in trouble, has a mitzvah to pray to God. Even a non-Jew, when they're in trouble, has a mitzvah to pray to God. Like, in other words, when it's, you know, push comes to shove and you're really at the end, don't be full of yourself. Don't think I'm going to climb out of this one by myself. God is really showing the world. I think he's showing the entire world, not just us. Because when you go to these rallies, what was the difference? Like I went to the rally in Washington. What was the difference between a rally in Washington when we, like with Jews, versus on Wednesday, they had a rally with the Palestinians in New York? Does anybody know the differences?
The Palestinians go wild.
They went wild.
And they want to kill and they want to murder when we do it in a Manchester way.
Oh my gosh. If you would, was 300, like close to 300,000 people, and everyone was like quiet and kind, and you're like, excuse me, you know what I mean? Like there was no mob, there was no run. And you know what? As much as they were waving the Israeli flag, they were waving the American flag. There was a lot of hakaras hatov, a lot of gratitude to America also. It wasn't like down with America, down. Like it wasn't anything like that. There's no gas the Palestinians. And in fact, what I found so incredible is that many of the speakers got up and they said, we really hope and wish for peace, and we hope that like the Palestinians who are innocent will not be injured. Do you imagine did you ever hear anything in a Palestinian rally where we hope that the Jews are not injured? Like, are you kidding me? They look at every one of us as, you know what I'm trying to say? So we really have to appreciate, you know, who we are. We have to really appreciate who we are, right? And how we comport ourselves when we're in trouble. Like it's completely different. And we said the Shema there, and they said one of the Tehillims there. It was really like completely a different reality. So we are in. That's the question. That's the big question. Are you in or are you out? And as far as I can see, thank God, we are in. Okay. And when we are up against the wall, we realize no atheist in a foxhole. We're all going to try our very best, right? To call out to Hashem and say, help, okay? Because we're not going to get out of this alone. We need your help. There's nothing to talk about. Okay. So they tell a mashal, a parable. So there was a king and he had a son, the prince, you know, as time went on, he was a real spoiled brat, and he started to like kind of leave the, you know, just do what he wanted. And he was really an embarrassment to the king. He didn't care. He was hanging around with really ruffians, and he just, Prince Schmintz, I don't care. I'm doing what I want. So it was to the point that he like was gone. He ran away, and he ended up like becoming a real, like a criminal. And he finally got arrested. He was put into jail. So now he's sitting in jail. He has a friend he's sitting in jail with, and he says, look, I got to get out. We got to get out of here. And you know what? I'm going to go back to my father. I made a mistake. This was stupid, and I really ruined my life, but I need you to help me. We got to do this together. If we won't be able to get out, and if we go together, I promise you I'll take you to the kingdom. Okay. So the guy was, sure, if we can do this together, we can break out of prison, no problem. So they break out of prison together, and it takes months till they're able to get back to the kingdom. So during those months, this boy, the prince, would share all of his story. You know, this is what my father looked like, and this is where I slept, and this is this, and I had this, and and all the history. Fine. So now they're coming towards the palace, and they look terrible. They're disheveled. Nobody would even recognize this prince. It's 15 years later. Okay, he's like looks like a mess. Can't tell who's who here. So they're going towards the kingdom, and the guard says, stop. And then the guy says, no, you don't understand. I'm the prince. And the guy who escaped with him said, he's lying. I'm the prince. Okay. So now they're both fighting over who's the prince. So the guard doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't want to get himself into trouble. He says, like, what's the worst thing? I take both of them in front of the king. He takes both of them in front of the king. And the king is like, confused too, because guess what? That guy knows a lot of the history. Like the king starts asking questions, the other kid is able to answer the questions. So then the king goes, you know what? I'm separating the two of you. One of you will live in one side of the palace, one will live in the other. And then after a week, we're going to know who's who. So the week is over. He goes to visit each one of them. So the one who was not the prince, he says to him, so how are things going? And he goes, oh, I'm so happy. I remember the delicious royal food, and now I'm getting it again. And he starts, you know, bringing back the history. And I remember, where's my horse, that beautiful horse I had, and all this kind of stuff. So the king's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And he goes, and what's the best part of being in this palace? Oh, the best part of being in this palace is enjoying all these beautiful things that, you know, you give me. Okay, fine. So he goes to his son, and he says to the son, okay, so how has it been for you this week? He goes, oh, it's been really, really good. I've had this, I've had that luxury and this luxury. And he says to him, so what's the best part of being in the palace? And he said, the best part of being in the palace is that I get an opportunity to be with you. once he said that, and what did the king say?
Mm.
What did the king say? What did the king say? How did it, like, between the, what?
Yes, this must be my son.
100%.
The other guy
Not
doesn't show
just
interest in
fair.
wanting to be
So
with him.
when we are going to war, we're in this position right now, right? We're in this position right now. I like appreciate it, right? What do the Muslims want to be? What kind of war is this? Like, everybody tell me.
They want to be in control of everybody, everything, rule the world, and you do as we say.
Yes, under what?
Sharia law.
And what is Sharia law? Religious. Okay.
And control,
Well,
total
yes,
control.
or
Total
what
control,
they
but
call
religious. This is a religious battle. Do you understand that? This is, I don't think we're used to those kinds of battles. We haven't had one of those since the Crusades. Okay. This is a religious battle. Okay. They're fighting. What are they claiming? What does Yishmael claim? That they are the nation of God. There is only two nations with the name of Hashem in their name. Yisroel and
Ishmael.
perfect. Do you see what's going on here? They are fighting over the kingdom.
Mm.
Do you see? And they are claiming that they're the son and that we aren't. And you know how we have a Kedas Yitzchak? Kedas Yitzchak is when Abraham passed the final, hardest test. Do you know what they call a Kedas Yitzchak? A Kedas Yishmael.
Oh my crikey, man.
Yes. Okay. So they say really Yitzchak wasn't the one who went, it was Yishmael. Okay. So we have
He
to
sent Ishmael out long ago.
yeah, you have to appreciate the depth of the story. Okay. So part of this story, right, like, is going back to the king, right? And saying to the king, no, 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 no. We are the people that you promised from the get-go, right? That's what it says in the Torah, and that's the basis of Christianity and the basis of Yishmael. It was very interesting. There were tons of Christians for Israel. Do you know that? At the rally, lots and lots of Christians for Israel. So just an interesting idea. Okay, so this whole episode and everything that is happening so that we can have this concept of prayer and connection back to the Almighty. And we do not want Sharia law in the world. What do we want in the world? What's the law that we do want in the world?
Democracy.
Well, Jews
Yes.
want Torah.
Right. We want Torah, democracy. What's the Torah's laws that you want for mankind? Remember the 7 Noahide
Law.
and those are what we are supposed to be presenting to the world. And just quickly, let's say them because we need to know what morality and ethics are. Okay. Because if we don't have a definition, we don't know what we're talking about. So who knows any of them?
I think some of them are part of the 10 Commandments as well.
Yes, yes, they are. So what?
Not steal, do
Yes,
not kill.
Do not kill.
Do not covet somebody.
No, that was a
Covet
good
your
try.
neighbor's
Good try. Good try. Do not.
And God, there's only one God.
Yes, this idea very true. You cannot worship idols. You don't worship idols. That's where we're closer cousins to Yishmael because they don't. Yishmael believes in one God. Do you know that? Okay, so no idols. So we said, do not kill, do not steal, do not commit adultery. We said the idol one. And what else?
Honor your parents.
Nope, but good try. Nope. You have to set up a court system. You need judges. Okay, you need judges and you need police. Okay, the opposite of what they've been screaming for the longest time. Okay, what else? You cannot curse God. You don't have to have the warmest, fuzziest relationship, but you can't curse. You can't like go against him. And what's this? The last one, you cannot eat from an animal while it's alive. Okay, so this concept of cruelty, right? Like all these, the Chinese, a soldier has to drink blood. It's gross. Okay, why? Because that makes you
strong and virile.
Yeah, it makes you completely, what's the word? You lose any kind of mercy or any kind of, any kind of mercy or any kind of what's empathy, right? Because if I can drink blood, it doesn't bother me to see anyone hurt. I can walk right past you. Yeah. So Torah is telling you we can't develop these kind of character traits. So really the Torah's laws would really make this world which kind of a place?
Democratic.
What? Yes,
Democratic.
and let's say the real word that we're all looking for.
Moralistic.
Yeah, moral and peaceful. Peaceful. It would be a peaceful world. That's a very different reality than what you're seeing now, right? It would be a very different reality. Okay, let me see what else I want to tell you. Okay. So after, it's very interesting, after the sin of the golden calf. Does everybody know what the sin of the golden calf is? Right? Okay, so Jewish people get the Torah, then they're waiting 40 days to get the real explanation. Moshe goes up and he's going to come down with the Torah itself and the luchos printed on those tablets. And it's going to be the real deal, right? And while he goes up, what happens to the Jewish people?
They don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, and
So
they
collect all
build-
the jewelry and the
build
everything
beautiful.
and build this calf so that
Right.
they can
And they
pray
build
to
it
that.
as a go-between. Like they're too afraid to have this like personal connection to God. Like, how could we have a personal connection to God? We need a messenger in between us. Okay, which is what we say in Judaism, totally wrong. This is one of the greatest concepts that we have, that God is like the most almighty, powerful, everything amazing, and yet he's willing to be very busy with us. Right? 24/7, you got the hotline 24/7, you can call on God and try to get into your specialist. Somebody just told me they're finally getting into the specialist. It took them 6 months. They can have some kind of crazy infection. They don't even know what's going on. And it takes 6 months to get to see the specialist. So the beauty of this is that you get to see the Almighty on a dime. All right. You could say, Shmona Esrei, that prayer that we say, everybody knows, you go back and then you go forward. That's a very private, you're actually marking your territory. Here's where I'm going to stand. Here's where I invite God in, and you can do it anywhere. Like people, sometimes like we're stuck in the airport and we had to daven. We're just stand up and suddenly this little area is me and God, nice and quiet, anytime, anywhere. Like it's really a miracle if you think about it. It's crazy. It's amazing. Okay, so he asked Moshe, he said, you know what? God gave the Jewish people forgiveness. It's a good time for me to really get into a conversation with God. So he said to God, why do good people suffer and bad people seem to succeed? Right? And I think all of us ask that question. I mean, I think it's hard. Like we ask that question all the time. Like I have a friend now whose grandson is so sick, like a 7-year-old boy who has leukemia. And she was telling me, like how much pain, he's in terrible pain. You just want to cry, like a 7-year-old, like what? Like please God, he should have a refuah shalema, right? And you try to understand like what's going on here. And he had to have a bone marrow transplant. And the person who is his perfect match is his 5-year-old sister. So the 5-year-old sister has to go in, you know what I mean? So it's interesting. So Hashem said to Moshe, I really wish I could tell you the whole big story, but I can't, because you can't see the future and you can't see the past the way I can understand it. I'm not bound by time. Wait, hold on. I think Hazel is trying to come in again. I'm not bound by time, right? And I'm creating something that you can't see. So let me explain to you. Okay, let me explain to you. He said, and Hashem said, you'll only be able to see me from the back. You'll only be able to see me after the story ends. That's the only time. So let me explain it to you. So let's say your little kindergarten child is standing next to you. You have a kindergarten child standing next to you, and you say, could you draw me a picture of your mommy? So what are they going to draw? Tell me. You're like, it's not like you're, you ask a kindergarten kid, draw me a picture of your mommy. What's it going to look like? Everyone unmute and try to tell me.
Stick man.
Yeah, 100%. It's always a stick man, right?
Mhm.
If you're lucky, it has two eyes. But it's very predictable. It's very predictable. Now, you ask Rembrandt to draw you a picture of his mother. And he starts to take paint and he puts like red and black splotchy things all over. And you're looking at it, and what are you going to say? You're going to go, where's your mother? I only see red and black splotchy things. And he's going to say, you know what? Come back in 6 months. And then you're going to see a picture of my mother. You know what? Like, hold up what you're knitting. Hold up what you're knitting for a second. I'm sorry. Like, I'm having a problem with remembering names.
Sheila.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
Sheila? No, this isn't
Yes,
Sheila.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's Sheila. Who's the one knitting for a second? Please say your name. I'm so sorry. Just slip my mind. Elaine. I was going to call you Melanie. Okay. So Elaine. So if you look at Elaine, like, look, hold it up a second again. All right. Hold it up. This is just the beginning.
Wow.
Right? We're staring at it. It's beautiful. Everything she makes is so beautiful. But I'm looking at it. I don't know what it is. Right? I can just say to you, how can we have a bunch of squiggly lines going up and down? Like, what's a bunch of squiggly lines going to be? And what do you have to tell me?
It's going to be an Afghan.
Yes. And I go, well, I don't know what that is really. I don't really understand. How's that going to be an Afghan? You have to say, wait and see. So that's the same with God. Our life, like, it was so interesting. I want to tell you something that the grandmother said. The other grandmother was talking to that little girl who now is going to be a bone marrow
Donor.
I'm so sorry that I'm losing
Donor.
my words. A bone marrow, it's like volunteer, I
Donor.
guess, or what's the word?
Donor.
When you
Donor.
donate.
Donor.
The recipient.
Bone marrow donor.
No, we're all frozen.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, hi. Can you see me, everyone?
Yeah.
Now we
And
can.
for a while we couldn't.
Okay, I froze. Okay, I just want to tell you, that was such a beautiful idea. The grandmother said to her, when you grow up and you're going to be dating, and this boy who's dating you is going to ask you, have you ever done something exceptional in your life? You're going to be able to say, I saved my brother's life. So when we're looking at the story right here and right now, it's really hard and it's very scary and it's very this and it's very that. And that's what Hashem says. I feel for everyone. I feel for you all, right? Because the destiny of history has to come. Mashiach has to come. There is a destiny to the history. There is a destiny to all this that the Jewish people have gone through. Hasn't been an easy trip. But God says, I promise you that you will survive. I promise you that you will be like the stars in the sky. So this is a new thing I learned. I didn't know this before. So people always say, how are the Jewish people like the stars in the sky? So many that we can't count us. Is that possible? We're the smallest nation on earth, but the whole world revolves around us. Did you notice that? Like, now try to turn on the news and see if there's anything on the news except for Israel. Like I was telling my husband, can't they talk about something else? It's not like the whole world had to stop because of Israel, but now that's the only thing you see on the news, right? So what is this that there's going to be so many of us like the stars? So it's hard to believe, but it's one of the 13 principles of our faith that everyone is going to come back. As a Jew, we don't really die. We just go into another world. But we're going to all come back. It's going to be something called Trias HaMesim, and that's how you're going to see millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Jews. And you know why they're all going to be worthy to come back? Why is everyone worthy to come back? Because they fought so hard to keep this chain going. And that's going to be the ultimate reward. It's just like, you know what I mean? And it's hard. It's really hard. Like, it's easier said than done. But I think for a lot of us, like, things that happened that could have been very, very negative. You know, it's funny. I have a good friend. She goes to my shul. You guys know Jackie Garber, right? So she got married very late in life. It took a long time to be able to have a baby. She had one child. When she went to give birth, like, she thought, be a normal birth like everybody else's. And she ended up with an incredible, like an embolism. And the fact that she lived was a complete miracle, complete miracle, complete miracle. The embolism, the type of embolism that she had is called a mommy and baby killer. That's what it's called. But no one should have survived. Nobody. She survived and her son survived. And it's interesting. Before she had this whole thing happen, she kind of believed in prayer, but not 100%. When that thing happened to her, her name went across the world for everybody to pray for. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds of people. Her husband would get 100 emails a day of people saying, I'm praying for you, blah, 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 blah. Now, if somebody survived this, if someone even survived it, the survival rate was so, like she said, it was 90 something point something percent that they die and the baby dies. If you lived through it, you usually came out with extreme brain damage. She wasn't breathing for 8 minutes. Her lungs collapsed. She was not able to stop bleeding, like, you know, her ability to clot, and she went into a coma for 4 days. It's a not normal story. And she came out fine. Is that normal? It's like not normal. She came out with no problem. She's like a healthy working person, everything fine, and an amazing son who's 9.5 years old. So it's funny that she took upon herself to talk about it, like to tell people about it, to give people hope and tell them, you know, God can help, prayer helps. Like, you need to know this. So yesterday we went somewhere and she told her story, okay? And then somebody in the audience, I just want to tell you, somebody in the audience came up and she said, I heard you speak 9.5 years ago at the Bayit. And I want you to know that my family at that point in time was so broken. There was 3 people at the same time in the same family fighting cancer. And we all thought we're never going to make it. Nothing's ever going to be good again. They were just like completely broken. But we had to go. We went. And when we heard your story, that miracles can happen, that prayer can help, that there is hope, it changed the lives of all 3 of us. And today we're all, thank God, much better. Isn't that like such a beautiful story? So sometimes, like, we don't know why things are happening, why this, why that. And I'm not minimizing any of it. Like, please don't even think I'm minimizing anything for a second. But all I'm telling you is that the Almighty is saying to us, I'm busy crocheting. I'm busy making a tapestry of history. Unfortunately, you can only see this part of the tapestry, the part with all the knots. You know, when you have to change colors and this and that. But I'm going to flip it. And then one day you're going to understand why all this happened. And Baruch Hashem, it's all going to be for the good. And that's what we have to keep saying to ourselves over and over and over. And we have to keep praying for all of these people. And I know, Hazel, it's so hard. Like, I know, like, the idea of praying for someone and then they're not, but you should know that this person, they passed away on Kiddush Hashem. They died only because they were a Jew. And there's a very, very special place in heaven for people who have to go that way. And these are the kinds of people that they will be resurrected. They will come back. And whenever you do anything in her memory, like now you could still daven for her, Hazel, but now it's a different way. Now it's not like I'm davening for her to come back. Now I'm davening to elevate her soul, and that she should be an advocate for all of us down here, to help us, like, to go to the Almighty and say, please advocate for the Jewish people, advocate to save us, advocate that there should be peace on earth. That's where we're at now. Okay, everyone? So if anyone have any questions, story, anything you want to share, we could unmute for a second.
Yes, Gail, I've just come across, you may all know about it, is that there's a 24-hour-a-day English news bulletin coming from Israel on our TVs.
It's called I-24.
Press 852 if you're on Rogers, and you get the whole time, whatever's going on.
Wow.
In Israel, in English, and if they're busy speaking in Hebrew, there's someone busy translating.
Beautiful.
So I thought I'd just share it with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Covered it myself.
Okay, so
If you're on Rogers, just ask for I-24.
I-24, yeah.
On Rogers. Okay, but I'm going to send out now. There's a very nice English prayer for the hostage kids. Like they have a nice English prayer for the kids who are hostages. And I do want to tell you that prayer is a very easy reality. It's not always even with words. Rabbi Orlowik says, when a person even goes, that's a prayer. Anything that's coming from the depth. Isn't that interesting? Even a laugh, like when you laugh at a simcha and you're just so happy, that's a prayer of thanks. So interesting. It doesn't have to necessarily be words. So sometimes, like when you just read the names of the hostages, it's a prayer. Right?
Did everybody hear about the rain?
Yes, the rain made us so happy.
It flooded the tunnels.
No, it's like, keep pouring, keep it down. So it's such a beautiful thing. And it was like, that's a hug from God. That was a hug from God. It was a real hug. So we just should be merit to see many, many more beautiful hugs and an end to this whole disaster. And anyone who needs a refuah shalema, anyone who needs, a speedy recovery, whether they're a soldier, whether they're a normal person, wherever, we're just looking for a beautiful ending that is matov u'manayim to all of this for everyone. Okay, so have a wonderful week. I love you guys. I'm so happy to see you. Jackie, I just want to tell you, your hair looks great. Okay. I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It looks so nice. Okay, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.